Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Going On. It is Tuesday. It is 9 p.m. I'm Ben. And welcome to the show. It's your weekly roundtable talk show, I guess. Yeah, it's a talk show where we hang out. I bring on some of my favorite people and we just chat about whatever we want. And you're all invited on the show as well. Thanks for watching. So, throw stuff in the chat. Comment on what we're talking about. If you've got a story that goes along with it, let us know. We'll throw it up on screen. We appreciate your being here. I'm just going to get everybody in here. This is a good week. We got, not that every week isn't a good week, but some weeks are still better than other weeks. And this is a good week. So they're all good. There's a baseline good, and then they just get better from there. And this is more than just the baseline. I'm just going to tell you that right now. This is a above the baseline show. And so I'm just going to bring in everybody and let them introduce themselves. Everybody give it up for Rachel Andelman. Who do we got? We got Kenny Gray. He's over here somewhere. We got Jordan Searles. We've got David Thomas. And we've got Will Gianetta. What is going on, friends? How are you?
Pretty good.
Nice. Thanks for being here. Let's just go around in a circle and introduce ourselves and let people know, who we are and what we want them to know about us, all that fun stuff. Rachel, why don't you go first?
Sure. Ben, I am a co-producer of the channel 2MB Studios. I'm also the social media director. I also have my own show every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time called The Joy of Posting with me, Rachel J. Nadelman, where I write tweets and I talk about them, and then I hang out in the chat and you learn what tweets are. And that's mostly what I do here.
Yeah, that is mostly what you do here. And if Rachel is being quiet during the set, it's because she is furiously tweeting the show. She's not going to tweet what we're actually saying, but she will be making jokes based on what we're talking about. And at the end of the show, we'll sort of look at the show and review. So pretty psyched for that. Kenny, what's going on, man? Kenny Gray, everybody.
Oh, hello, everyone. We open on a hospital in Manchester, New Hampshire, 1991. Kenneth and Gretchen Gray are having their first child, named after the father. His name is Kenneth Gray. He then smash cut 25 years later. He's doing improv furiously. He meets many of the people in this room. I do podcasts and stuff. I do lots of things. I do stuff with Will. I do comedy, and I ruin shows like this.
Nice. Not at all. Kenny, you also run a thing, Mess and Finesse.
That's correct.
Talk about that really quickly.
Yes, Mess and Finesse is an independent production company that, like many things, had to hard pivot during COVID with a big TBD on what's going to be going forward. Mm-hmm. But we made live shows and zines and videos. So if you go to messandfinesse.com, you can find all that stuff. Yeah,
I love everything you put out. I really think is really artistically great. So everybody check them out. You're welcome. Jordan, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm a film critic. I'm a comedian. I write screenplays sometimes, and I'm sure. Also, I'm the co-host of the Bad Romance podcast. I do it with another very funny comic named Bronwyn Isaac, and we talk about bad romantic movies.
Nice. Bad like rom-coms or romantic movies? Is there? Obviously, there's a difference, but
we do both. Like mostly rom-coms, but we do romantic dramas as well.
Is it too loaded of a question to ask you for your favorite rom-com?
That's a really hard question. Today I'll say Moonstruck.
Oh, a great one. I was just yelling about, I lost my freaking hand. It was great. I love it. I love that movie. Thanks for being here. Yeah. David, what's going on? David Thomas, everybody.
Hello. I'm a comedian. I'm on this channel a lot. Like on Fridays, I play video games with Ryan Dalliance to meet Saren. Kenny and Will joined us recently. We played Apex Legends. And there's the rehash. Fridays at 10:30. Tookie Kavanaugh and I review bad movies, and she educates me. But Thursdays at 8 is Quarantine Action Wrestling, 2MB's premier wrestling league. And this Saturday at 8 p.m. is our Memorial Day pay-per-view that's free. we basically treat it as a season finale. All the title belts are up for challenge, and the cast of QAW, they're just so immensely talented, and the videos they put together for their promos and character, there will be a number of musical numbers, I'm sure, and it's always just amazing stuff. So right here in 2MB this Saturday at 8, Backyard Barbacoa.
I love that title, and yeah, QAW is fantastic. It's like the best of wrestling and the best of comedy performance sort of slammed together, and it's there we go. Tina is confirming there's at least one musical number.
Sneak preview.
Yeah, everything is always amazing. So she knows she's editing it as she watches. Thanks for being here, David.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Will Gianetta, what's going on?
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Gianetta, and what I do is I get up around like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just start walking. So I'll pick like 2 or 3 squares within like a 5-mile radius, and I'll make like a big triangle. So I'll walk to like Davis, and then go over to Harvard, and then back up to Union, which is where I live, just dox myself. Then I'll do like an apple and peanut butter. I'll do like a light breakfast and set in on whatever work I have to do for the day, answer some emails, do some editing, stuff like that. And then once we hit like 5 or 6, it's just Apex Legends all night long, pretty much until everybody else goes to sleep, and then I start reading Dune. We're on God Emperor now, and it's going great.
Is also a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, I got it.
You don't say.
Well, it's like I'm not doing anything. Nobody's been doing anything, right? We're all not doing anything. It's not just me.
Yeah, no. It sounds like you've been doing a lot. You've been doing your walks, square walks.
Everybody should start walking.
Way to get in shape.
It is great.
We had a very good friend named Alex LeBaron who really buffed up just by walking around Boston, because that's what you do. It's a walkable city. Highly recommend walking. Yep. He just recommended walking on the show. Well
What's
done.
Going on?
Off to a great start.
Changes your mind.
Yeah, people letting us know. Yeah, we need to walk more. Yeah, Waka. Thank you, Big Wellington. Yes. So this is a show where we just tell stories and see what's going on. David, you've been on the show a couple times before. Why don't you start us off and tell us a story?
Yeah, this isn't a long story, but I'll make it long. With the world opening up again, I've been thinking about what I've really missed a lot, and I really miss barcades. There's something magical about, like, I love movie theaters and movies, but like the people who are like really into movie theaters and nostalgia for that's what I have for barcades. I think they're an amazing, and I can't drink anymore, but like I'm still going to go to barcades a lot. And there's just something I love about the notion, because I also really love fighting games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and there's the whole nature of like you set up on a machine and people come up and they fight you, and then winner stays on. Like there's something wonderfully competitive and simple about that. And I remember, because there's that chain of barcades in New York, or I guess sort of in New York and outside, just called Barcade. And it makes sense that it's the name of the thing, because they're amazing. I don't know how you can do it better. Check out Barcade.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Check them out.
Check out Red Barn. But I went to a barcade with my buddy Andy once, and to this day, I maintain this is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Not in the sense that like I think it didn't drive me to tears, but it was so wonderfully simple, because we walk in and we're walking through the barcade and we're like, what are we going to play? And there's a bunch of arcade cabinets set up and everything. And there's like a security guard in there too. And the security guard's standing next to a trash can. And Andy points at the trash can. What game is that? And the guard's like, it's a trash can. He's like, and then walks. I don't know. That's my favorite thing ever.
That's a good joke. That's a good joke.
It's so wonderfully concise and simple. And I was just like, I fucking love this man so much. Just a great joke. But I set up on a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 machine, which is a great game. And there was a time when through college, I was very into this stuff. Like me and my friends, we would travel to tournaments and everything. Like I would play Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat 9, and a decent amount of Marvel versus Capcom 2.
You're never gonna know before Until it was hilarious. You're never gonna know. It was great.
It was a joke I think Boof would greatly appreciate.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's heard me tell this story 1,000 times. But yeah, and like in college I got really into this stuff, and Tekken's a 3D fighter, not necessarily my thing. I'm more the 2D. But Tekken's great. But
get the hell out of here, 3D fighter people in the chat. Unbelievable.
Right? How many dimensions you need? But
Just
I'm learning as we talk that I'm a 3D fighter person, because I'm like Soul Calibur and Dead or Alive were both 3D, and those are my two favorite fighting games.
Those are for the casual player, those are the better games because they're way easier to look like you're doing amazingly cool shit. Exactly. Yeah, you roll your face on it, and then like you're Siegfried and Soul Calibur, and you're throwing shit everywhere. But we got really into like we would go to my buddy Everett's place, and
absolutely I did. Yeah, for the casual player, that's fine.
Yeah, I tried to hide my disdain when I said that.
Yeah, no, it came through loud and clear. It's fine. It's fine. It's deserved.
But we would go to my buddy Everett's place, and we like go in the basement, and he had like 4 TVs set up, and we all had our own sticks, and we would just play from like 8 a.m. till like 5 a.m. and like drink 4 Locos, and it was amazing. But we did a lot, but I was decent at this stuff. I wasn't amazing at their level, but like to the casual person.
I just need to stop you 1 second. You realize, and I don't know whether you said this by mistake or on purpose, you said you played from 8 a.m. to 5 a.m., which is 19 straight hours of thing, which is amazing if that's true. But did you mean 8 p.m.?
I did mean 8 p.m.
Okay.
Probably there was a time I remember we've probably pulled at least 12 hours before because
it wasn't completely implausible. I felt I needed to ask because I could see it happening.
I distinctly remember getting there and it was light out, and leaving and it was light out. I do remember that.
It's like not shocking to me to talk about like that at that time in history, like gaming sessions, like LAN parties that go like sunlight all the way through. Like,
oh, absolutely, yeah. And that was
an era.
It sure was.
You had to lug everything there too, so it's like you might as well.
Yeah, it was an era of us not getting laid and doing that, and it was really great. But I was I was decent at this. But I set up at this cabinet at Barcade, the one in Manhattan, and I'm playing for a bit, and a couple people show up, and I'm on there for a while, and then this one guy comes on, and he loses horribly, but he kept going back in, and like he kept coming back in every time we lose. I beat this guy 10 times in a row, and then when he was like out of tokens or whatever, he's like, and he turns to me and we lock eyes for a second. He's like, "Dude, I'm gonna skull fuck you," and then he just left. And
this sounds like Saturday Night Fever, but for arcade games. Like like you set up at a machine and like there were all these like hot shots rolling around. Was that kind of the vibe?
We all were in fancy pants. But
I'm surprised that there's never been, because the more you say that, Kenny, I'm surprised there's never been a good movie that really captures the arcade. Like there have been a couple documentaries.
King of Kong.
King of Kong comes to mind.
Dramatized like high stakes. We need what's that new Adam Sandler movie with the diamonds?
Uncut Gems.
We uncut gem tone, but King of Kong subject matter.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
uncut sticks. I don't know. And he's just like, "I'm gonna skull fuck you," and I was like, "What?" And then he just left, and we were just really on edge for a while because I didn't want to give up the cabinet, and I was there for like another half hour, and the guy never skull fucked me, and it was just a very, I don't know. Some people got real upset about that stuff. But that's the only time like it's not a great ending to a story. It was just what I was thinking about before. And there shouldn't be a movie. There should not be a movie about fighting game tournaments because it's just like the meeting room of a Sheraton of a Ramada Inn, and like nobody showered, and like all the trash cans are overflowing with Taco Bell wrappers. It's a really poor. Huh?
Have you seen that movie Relaxer?
Relaxer, I haven't.
No.
No, it's okay. It's a movie about a guy who is like some kind of bet with his brother to get to a certain level of a game. And then but he can't get up. And it's like this weird bet, and it's like they're adults, so you don't know why, but he just stays in that exact same spot for like months. And then like he has like very long straws that like go into other drinks, and he has like a grabber to like open things, and he just stays there. And then the apocalypse happens and he's still there on the couch.
That sounds nuts.
Yeah, this sounds actually kind of good. I mean,
It's pretty good. You should watch it.
Yeah. I don't know why you telling that. One of the guys who I played fighting games with, he had a roommate who would piss in jars and leave them in the room. And my friend was the nicest guy in the world. And he was, and I was like, you got to tell him to stop doing that. And the weirdest part about the story is that he asked him to stop pissing in jars and leaving them in the room. And he was like, yeah, okay. And then he just stopped with like no fight about it. Like,
So he could have done it at any time.
Yeah.
All it took was a little push.
it's just hilarious to me that somebody pisses in jars and leaves it in the dorm room, but it is not committed to it enough to fight for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was this bothering you? Because I can stop you.
I know. Like, I thought you were cool with it. But,
strictly convenience, nothing else.
yeah.
Can I ask you,
shit jars,
David?
that makes sense.
Well, at least you can put the lid on it. It's not that bad.
Can I ask you? Barcades were what you kept mentioning, but is an arcade just as good? It's hard to find an arcade anymore.
There are very few like pure arcades, or like at least I haven't found any.
There's the place up in New Hampshire, right? What's it called? Good Times Emporium.
But it's mostly like AC chilled at like the bottom of a hotel, and there's like one weird like it's that really weird arcade that's like in a corner with 4 weird games.
It's Turtles in Time and an ice machine. That's the arcades that we have left.
And like a broken crane game. Yeah. No,
I just love that no matter what else is true, I know that the AMC in Boston will always have Time Crisis.
Time Crisis. Yes.
Yeah, I guess Dave and Buster's is probably
theoretically a barcade too, though. Like still an adult establishment, right?
Well, that's the whole like those are the ones that they got the money because people are coming in and making the money off the booze, and then they can get the better cabinets.
The one thing that hurts me about Dave and Buster's and Barcade, and that's a stupid little thing, but it's that you can't use quarters. You have to trade in your dollar for a token that is the size of a quarter. Yeah. And it's still the same amount of money. It's not like they're charging you. It would be one thing if they were like, it's $1 and you get 3 tokens. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Tokens are more expensive. But nope, you still get 4 for $1. And
I bet it's so it's not gambling or something. Like you're not betting US money on chance. You're betting game. Dave and Buster's bucks, which you purchased. So it's probably some kind of hand washing shit, I would bet.
I bet you're right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because they don't want to clean all those coins.
I've never been to a Dave and Buster's, but I get the impression, do Dave and Buster's, do they have like video game cabinets, or is Dave and Buster's more like,
just laundering money?
Or is it more like, they have like pinball and like the crane game and like the stuff for tickets?
It's the big sit-in things. It's the big giant, like you sit and fly the Star Wars thing, or you shoot the basketballs, or you do the whack-a-mole. It's the big giant cabinets.
Okay.
As opposed to like Barcade, which is more like a CBGBs of like video games.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm going to a Barcade, I want there to be Street Fighter.
There'll usually be one like shitty Miss Pac-Man on Super Turbo in the corner of a Dave and Buster's, right?
Sure.
But that's all. Yeah, and maybe it's the Galaga Miss Pac-Man dual cabinet, but that's the best you're gonna do.
There was a time when A4Cade in Cambridge had Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and I was very, very excited about that. And I think they still, I haven't been there a lot. When last I was there, they had Mortal Kombat 2, but I don't know. Just something about I love that atmosphere. It's so my thing, and yeah.
I love it. So that's a great story, and it's about video games. It's also about I don't mean this in a bad way, but maybe misspent youth or spending time with your friends and then realizing there maybe could have been. I don't mean that. I mean that in the best way. We all had misspent youth, and misspent youth
is just a great follow-up to. I don't mean this in a bad way, right? Misspent youth,
right? Because it could sound like, but I think youth should be misspent. That's the point of youth in some respects. I think.
Totally.
And so I think that's great. And so just using those as a jump off. Kenny, do you have a story that you'd like to share?
Oh, sure. About misspent youth. Yeah. So I used to be a camp counselor for a theater company.
Perfect.
All during college, that was my summer job. Essentially, during the day, we would do a theater camp and we would help the kids. We teach them about theater, and then they would be prepping for a show that they would do at the end of camp. And then at night, we were rehearsing our show that we would do then the week later. And it was a great, there's like 200 kids and their parents at the camp. And then we have 200 kids for the audience, for the show. It was a great little model. Shout out to Dairyfield Repertory Theater. They still run the program. It's great. It's kind of a fun, it's now like we were kind of the original crop of counselors. And now the kids that we taught are the counselors, which is fun. But we used to do this thing where we had different teams. We had red team, blue team, yellow team, green team, purple team, right? And we'd have spirit days, and one of them was always the dress up in the color of your team day. And it was a theater company, so we had a closet full of costumes, full of costumes, just hundreds and hundreds of costumes. So if you forgot, like on a spirit day or on the dress up in your team color day, you could just go into the closet, right? There's tons of stuff. Put on anything that's red. Put on anything that's blue. But my friend Caleb, who was a good buddy of mine, showed up, totally spaced it. Totally spaced it.
What color were you?
Huh?
What color were you at the time?
So we maintained that over the 4 years, we didn't change teams ever, because the campers that came back, 1 year it had changed, and they were like, Kenny was red team last year. How come he's blue team? That's heresy. And so then I was reinstated in red team. And I was red.
You signed a blood oath to the red team.
It was just a fun way to get the campers to it was a fun way to get the campers into the mood of dressing up for shows and expressing themselves. But Caleb forgot to bring something yellow. And so he went into instead of grabbing, he was trying to do a bit, but he went into the paint closet and he painted his entire body yellow, and he didn't realize it was latex paint. And so he's covered in yellow paint, and the campers fucking love it. Love it. He's coming out there. He's all painted yellow. He's got sunglasses. He's just this beam of neon yellow. But then around lunchtime, he just goes up to us. He's being all brash and hey, campers, whoa. Around lunchtime, he comes up, he goes, I think I need to go to the hospital. And we're like, no, just go take a shower. And he showered it off, and he was fine. But there's these fun pictures when you look up the camp. Every time I scroll through it, it's us oh, look, it's 1970s day and all these fun pictures. And then you get to team day, and there's this one picture of him painted in bright yellow, just hands up in the air. He looks like some kind of cult leader, children are surrounding him. Screaming to him.
Can you say, I am the golden god?
Exactly. That
stuff doesn't breathe. That paint is completely non-breathable. So he must have been dying under there.
Yeah, where is he now?
He just played Roger in the National Tour of Rent.
Okay.
Still painted yellow every night. It's just a choice that he made. The producers really like it.
Yeah.
I feel like theater camp or camp in general is a time to make right, because it's the quintessential time to make just a dumb decision that you think is a really good decision at the time, and then painting yourself is a great example of that.
It was such a fun energy. I don't know, if any of you had experiences going to camp or any sort of really after school program where just like get a whole bunch of like silly theater people to help these kids come out of their shell. Like, you know, we just encouraged them to do whatever they wanted. And it was like, not whatever they wanted, but like, you know, lots of like kids would come and be like really reserved and shy. And like, there's this one camper who was like the quintessential goth girl, just totally shy. And she's just sitting in a corner. And my friend Mike just goes, "Bongos, come here." And she's still like, her friends to this day call her Bongos. Cause like, you know, now she's like lived her life just like a fun, but it got her out of her shell. So I don't know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a very cute story.
I like that. I think we forget sometimes, like, because it's really easy to become like these cynical, right, beaten down grown-ups.
What are you talking about?
We need to have a theater camp for adults.
Wait a second.
No.
Where's the latex paint?
But it really can mean something to a kid to be able to see, either to have somebody pull them out of their shell or just being able to see somebody be a complete idiot, right? And kids have never, and they're like, oh, grown-ups can choose to be just dumb like we are all the time, right? And like I remember that was huge. Like I don't even remember the guy's name, but there was a guy who worked at I went to a day camp one summer, and there was a guy who worked there who was just insane, and like he would come in and like, you know, he'd have stuff on his head and he'd chase us around. He was just like an idiot, right? But like, it was the greatest thing ever. I remember him to this day. I don't remember his name, but I remember just that he was the first grown-up I ever saw acting dumb. Like,
he kidnapped us for days at a time.
You know? Wouldn't let us talk to our parents. It was great.
Did you ever see the episode of The Simpsons where they go to Camp Krusty? It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Well, because they take over the camp, right? Aren't they? Yeah. Because Krusty just lends his name to an inferior product as usual. Mm-hmm. He's always doing that sort of crazy shit. Did you have more fun, Kenny? Last question. At camp as a counselor or as a camper? Did you enjoy the counselor experience, or would you?
Being a counselor, there's a reason Wet Hot American Summer is about the counselors. It's way more fun because I mean, like, there's some sort of magic about like being 21 and an idiot and like waking up like hungover and being like, let's go make magic today.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was a blast. All I remember about going to camp as a kid myself was just being so introverted and being slowly pulled out of my shell. So
and now look at you. Thank you, camp. Thanks, camp.
Thank you, camp.
Whatever the camp was.
Camp.
So yeah, we've heard two stories about youth and either doing something in your youth or helping youth out, anything like that. Jordan, having heard those, does anything strike a fancy? Do you have any kind of story that you're like, oh yeah, okay?
Well, kind of like maybe some loose vignettes. I went to the Camp for the Blind, the Georgia Lions Camp for the Blind, because Georgia is where I grew up. I don't even know if it still exists. I hope it does. But it was like maybe the one place where it was just like a bunch of us, like, I'm half blind kids, just having a great fucking time and like making out behind trees and like sneaking into each other's dorms, sneaking comic books, getting in trouble, freestyling, which is like, I'm glad that there's no tape of that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. It was just like a really good time. And I think like, I don't know, when people think of like a bunch of disabled kids at camp, there's like a bunch of like funny things that they like come up with, like weird scenarios. And no, it's mostly just like, I had 2 boyfriends and and I took them both to the camp dance, and
they knew about each other.
They knew about each other. No, I took them, because I didn't want to choose. Like, they both asked me to dance, and I was like, I don't know, you can both come. And then they came, and they just like fought with each other the entire time, and it was great. It was a great confidence booster.
That feels real nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome.
Just vying for your attention all evening.
Yeah. That's what an 11-year-old girl wants is attention, and I got it.
I was hoping you got to walk in and you had both your arms out and you had one on each arm.
Oh, I did. That is
Nice.
exactly what. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I was considered a troublemaker at the camp though, because I was all the hijinks, the sneaking into the boys' slumber like dorms or whatever. That was all my idea. I gave everybody comic books that they weren't supposed to have. And everybody fucked up my comic books too. I'll never get over that. I took them all back and they were just torn apart. I loaned you these things. No respect for my comic books.
Damn.
You're getting some love from the crowd for that. Yeah.
Oh.
Though I would say, yeah, that's very dangerous. I mean, it's kind of you, but it's dangerous to lend out comic books. I feel like, because I had comic books too, and there's a certain type of kid who gets comic books and a certain type of kid who doesn't, right? And you want to be like, what are you creasing that? Like turning, holding it. That was the worst when I would see somebody and they had taken the cover and folded it back. And I was, oh man, I'm getting mad about it just thinking about it right now.
Just no respect. And I know, and I didn't even have it wasn't even Marv. I collected Betty and Veronica comic books and I was very, very serious about them. And they were very popular for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it was because they're Betty and Veronica were drawn really hot. And so it was just, we were all just attracted to the cartoons. I know I was.
Yeah. And Riverdale, I mean, Archie comics are still huge, right? It's ridiculous. I mean, of course there's the show on TV, but the comic itself. The show is not great. I only watched part of the first season. I thought it was decent trash, and then it sort of jumped its own shark.
It is one of the crazy. I watch it all the time, but it is one of the craziest shows I've ever seen. There's one episode called No Exit, where Archie gets attacked by a bear and then spends the entire episode in a cabin bleeding and hallucinating.
This sounds amazing. I am so into this.
David used to watch Riverdale.
Okay.
Is there any art form where? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just every episode is a season of television. One episode of Riverdale, you have to go to sleep after that.
That my favorite season of Game of Thrones is when he got mauled by a bear and then just hallucinated for 12 episodes. I love that.
Will, you were going to say something?
Well, I just these newspaper comics are so weird. Is there any other art form where you get to the art, one thing will stay there for 80 years or 100 years? It's been Peanuts, Garfield, Kathy, Archie, the thing with the little Viking guys. There's not been a new one in 120 years. And they're not particularly great material. When's the last time Family Circus was interesting? The best was Gary Larson and Calvin and Hobbes.
Very far from Betty and Veronica. Anyway, continue.
Sorry, no, it's weird to think Archie, that thing that our grandparents probably also enjoyed.
But Archie, that's the thing. Archie is still going, and Archie, I will say, has done a very good job. The comic has done a very good job of updating their storylines, of staying pretty current with events that I think teens are dealing with. And I think Archie's always been I don't know, maybe I'm giving it too much love, but Archie's always seemed a little not subversive to me, but Archie was always it was about me, right? As a kid, it was about, it wasn't about a superhero. It wasn't about it was about these high school kids, but they didn't end at high school, whatever. They didn't act like that. So I was oh, they're trying to have friends and they're trying to get a girlfriend and they're trying not to fail their science test. And I'm I relate to that.
Dude.
It is. It's so relatable. There's the black couple in it. The one Chuck is a cartoonist and the girlfriend Nancy, I don't know what she does, but they're just panels where she's just mad at him for paying more attention to comics than her. And I was just relatable.
Yeah.
It's stuff. Also, there are a bunch of event ones, Archie versus Predator. That's that's a good time.
Wait, are you serious? There's Archie versus Predator?
Archie versus Predator, yeah.
Wow.
Do I actually get to see Predator just slowly pick off the Riverdale crew one by one? Oh man, I gotta check that out.
I'm just thinking in my head. I'm just thinking that there's a scene of the helicopter where you can tell what's the name of the guy with the crown on.
Jughead.
Jughead.
You figure that Jughead is the wild card because he's eating a burger while they're about to get dropped into the hot zone. Like the guy who, the Predator, the guy who's like shaving, and he's the wild card. Does anyone else watch Predator?
No. I'm so fucking dumb. I meant to Google Archie versus Predator, but I Googled Archie goes to Predator.
Archie goes to Predator.
I just need to show everybody this. This is quite something. This is the cover to Archie versus Predator.
Hell yeah. That's amazing.
It is wonderful.
The most dangerous game, I believe, must be beach games, party games, the most dangerous game.
Sorry, did we answer? Like, who wins? Like, spoiler alert for the chat. I want to know who, like, does they all die? Does Archie get hunted?
This is from the Wikipedia, so let's find out.
Look, I've never read an Archie comic, but for some reason I feel like this ends with Predator like getting a pie in the face or something.
So here we go. When Archie and his friends take a spring break trip to Los Parados Resort, an alien trophy hunter Predator touches down in the nearby jungle. Betty and Veronica get into a fight during the contest and attract the attention of the Predator, who follows them home to Riverdale.
Predator kills people.
While targeting Veronica, the Predator also kills several armed people. The creature's picture is taken by Betty. Kevin Keller's father, a U.S. military general, identifies it as a teenager from a race of nearly unstoppable alien hunters. The Kellers organize Archie's friends, and Jughead is used as bait to lure the Predator.
They bait him with Jughead.
And the Predator kills most of the ambush party.
Holy fucking shit.
They bait the Predator with Jughead.
Which season of Riverdale has the Predator episode?
It should. They're doing all kinds of like homages now. They did an Uncut Gems scene. I don't know if it was like flying around Twitter where it was just Uncut Gems but with a Veronica in it.
Wow.
Yo, this gets dark. When the Predator attacks again, it kills Dilton and Jughead and critically wounds Archie. Betty and Veronica take refuge at the Lodge Manor where they hook Archie up to an experimental healing machine. But when the Predator attacks again, Archie is killed and Veronica and Betty are critically wounded, which causes the Predator to show regret since it was motivated by a crush on Betty.
Oh, God.
Wow. That's the craziest part of Predator versus Archie. That little piece of motivation, like that's the only thing that throws me. Everything else is great.
The last line is even crazier.
You think Predator would be more into Veronica?
Exactly. It gets it.
They use the healing machine to restore everybody to full health and then use it to transform the Predator into an Archie lookalike because Archie's dead.
It was Wonder Woman 1984. Good God.
They need a new Archie.
So Predator is Archie now.
Predator is Archie.
That is canon.
Do they like later? Like, is there like 10 years from then? Like they're like a 4th of July barbecue. They're like, do you remember the Predator coming here?
Zoom in on the eye. Like all the memories come back.
What a summer that was.
That's why I keep on telling people that the comics are so much better because the show is like angsty and it's like that weird stuff is going to happen and it's clear that it's doing a Twin Peaks thing, but like with Archie it's just like everybody acts normal and then weird shit happens and that's so much better. Like there's like a rip in time where like in one timeline Archie marries Betty and the other timeline he marries Veronica and Dilton is the only person who can go between each reality and he's just
like lost.
That's like I did not know that the Riverdale universe was so complex. This is really something.
I have to. Jess Rassick Snark asked in the chat: is Jughead still dead in later episodes? I love the idea that they keep doing all this stuff, and then you cut to Jughead, and they're like in class, and it's just Jughead's like corpse at a desk.
They're dragging him around.
Yeah. Come on, Jughead.
We're not going to go into the synopsis. I just want to show this is the cover of number 2. I don't know if people can see that, but that is Archie / the Predator. There you go.
When were these made? Is this a recent thing, or was this like done in the 80s?
That's a great question. I don't know when they were made, but it's the first one. It says was made 2015. There you go.
Okay, yeah.
So it's new.
what I was
It's
thinking.
new.
Jesus.
But man, that is something. Jordan, we went from talking about camp to somehow talking about the Predator and Riverdale, and I love it so much. I think that is truly a wonderful world that you have shared with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and one that I can't wait to explore further on my own because that's crazy pants, and I love it. I love it. Will, yeah, what a crazy story to follow. But camp memories, things we read as children, or crazy mashups has entered the arena now as well, or things you didn't think went together. So, anything interest you?
Something about you were talking about Riverdale being mysterious. That it makes me think of like there's like beachy, swampy stuff in that, right? I saw the trailer for it at some point. Maybe it's just a trailer. It's reminding me of we used to go down to like the beach at night a lot in middle school, or I guess this would be technically high school at this point. But we used to go down there a lot and do like bonfires on the beach at night. And sometimes people would bring alcohol and stuff, but that wasn't the point. We just like to hang out with the fire. And so we'd go down there all the time. We'd have these fires. Then we went down. I think this is when it might have been Hurricane Katrina had happened, like 2005. And there was all over the beach. There was all of this brush that had been washed up, like seaweed, seagrass, dead detritus all over the beach. And what they do when that happens is they run a tractor and they like drag it all up and then they haul it off. So they had run the tractor and made these huge like mounds, like 15 foot high, I don't know, 20, 30 foot around piles of just dry driftwood and seagrass. And well, somebody said, wouldn't it be a neat idea to light that up? And so we did. And when I say you could see probably like, because it's night, it's dark out, you could probably see 40 miles in every direction, like down the coastline of like, it's like they lit the beacons of Gondor. And so we go, oh shit. Like it's on the sand. So it's not like we're going to necessarily light all the dunes on fire, but it's like, there's a couple handfuls of sand you throw out and then you go like, this is outside of our capacity. And so
I assume it went from 0 to 100 very quickly with dry seagrass.
It went up, yeah. It had dried out on the beach, so it went up real quick. And so we just run as you would if you were responsible for this. And like pretty soon we all run back to our cars, which are parked like on the street, not too far away. And then we're sitting in them like hearts racing, like, oh shit, what do we do? What do we do? Do we call like the fire department? Like someone's gonna call the fire department. And then we hear the sirens and we see like 1 fire truck, 2 fire truck, 3 fire truck, police chief, ambulance, fire chief SUV. Like they brought out like everybody in the area. And so we're sitting in 2 of our cars. We're like, all right, they got it under control. We got to get the hell out of here. And then like my buddy, who we'll call Jim for the sake of the story, is like, I don't have my keys. Like I dropped my keys somewhere on the beach in the dark in a panic flee. And so we're like, all right, we're just going to like drive over to Tim Hortons. We'll hang out, wait for things to cool down. Then we'll come back with another car. We could have taken it home. But like when you're in high school, like if your family car just doesn't come home that night, like, you know, you can't just come pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we wait, we go back and we're searching around. Like it's been put out. It's been a couple hours. Like luckily it didn't escalate. And we're looking around and sure enough, somebody found his keys on a land, like in the dark, just like stepped on them, was like, what's that? Here they are. Got Jim's keys, got his mauve family Scion back to their place that night. And everything was okay. It made the police beat that weekend. If you go open the Scarborough Leader on that date in 2006, you will see.
And they still to this day have not solved it. Unless they're watching right now.
I don't think it bears solving. Like
sure.
it could have been a cigarette, but it could have been accidental. It was not done with malice.
Mhm.
I mean, if you would cause like ships to run aground though, because it looked like a lighthouse on the beach, then maybe.
I don't like. That's never entered my thought, but like we could have screwed with naval affairs in the area. That might be a thing.
You could have blocked the Suez Canal.
Thank God we didn't.
Yeah. Wow.
We never fought the Predator, but we.
I wonder if it could have been seen from space when it went up.
I hope so.
Well, because you said you could see 40 miles, and I'm like 40 miles.
I'm probably
space.
exaggerating. I don't know, but if it was like uninterrupted, maybe like if you were just out on the water and it was flat, probably.
Yeah, you know what's uninterrupted? Straight up to space, uninterrupted view right down.
I feel like the bar for what you can see from space is pretty low. Whenever, because like you hear that a lot, like, "Hey, it's so big you can see it from space," and I'm like. That's like every other wildfire you can see from space. Yeah. Like it's not that hard. We got optics now.
I like to imagine people on the International Space Station are looking down when this happens. Like there's Jim's keys.
If we could have got some GPS tracking going on that night, that would have helped us out a whole heck of a lot. I don't know what they're doing with their tax dollars up there, but it's not helping you and me find our keys.
You can't can you rent a satellite? That should be a thing to be like Zipcar, where you can pay to access a GPS satellite.
You probably can.
I guarantee you can. It's just real expensive. I bet you could rent a satellite for something from even if it was just, if you had the money, I bet reaching out to a certain other governments and being like, hey, can I borrow your satellite? I don't know how that would work.
Apparently,
can I borrow your satellite?
Yeah, they probably want you to do it because otherwise every other company would be launching their own satellite and they need it for one thing.
You can rent space on a satellite.
Like space? Like square footage? I figured it was data, bandwidth or something.
Yeah,
you tell me I can get
service.
What's a one bedroom in space cost?
Yeah. I tell you, it can't be worse than these Somerville prices right now. You know what I mean?
Hey.
I wanted to live in Cambridge, but I had to settle for space.
I've always wondered why satellite phones were not what everybody has. I know that shows a gross lack of knowledge as to how satellites work. That I'm like, everybody should just have a satellite phone, and if you can see the sky, you can make a phone call. What is this out of range bullshit? There should be no range. It's space, right? And I've seen them in movies, so therefore they must exist. I know they exist, but they're not prevalent. I know there was a satellite phone company that was trying to launch, and I think it just failed actually semi-recently because I don't know why. Because people aren't buying into it, but I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
Not a sponsor, but they could be. If you're watching sat phones, I would be all about it.
Hey,
satellites don't have enough bandwidth for those of the generic options. There you go.
Abolish the Senate. Always coming in with the knowledge.
Does that mean I can't stream from a satellite? I can't be using my phone the way it needs to. And cell phones via satellite as well. So maybe we're already living there. I don't know. Who knows?
The future is now.
The future is now. What we got away from there were beach hangouts and how much fun beach hangouts are. And has everybody? I was about to say, has everybody gone to the beach? But yes, everybody's been to a beach. But has everybody been to a bonfire? That's not something necessarily that everybody's done.
No, I feel like bonfires are a white thing. I feel white people are always talking about bonfires, but I've never been to one. Do y'all invite us? I'm not sure.
It's funny. It's true. I would think most of the bonfires I've been to, in fact, I'd say most of them were in Vermont, and they were very white for the most part. Yeah.
Well, you got to have a lot of junk wood around, and that also tends to be a white thing, I think. Yard full of pallets. Yeah.
Just a bunch of shit. Yeah, what are we doing with this? Let's just burn it.
Or it's tragic, like the scene from Billy Elliot when they get poor and then they start just throwing all the pieces of the piano in the fire and he can't be a ballerina anymore.
It's just like that.
What's the difference between a bonfire and a campfire?
Size.
A bonfire is bigger, right?
Yeah.
Size?
Yeah.
Size matters.
Sure does.
I feel like bonfires are those ones like Will said. It's truly like bonfires. I feel like you set it all up ahead of time. So I don't think you add fuel necessarily to a bonfire. I think you get a huge pile of something, and then you light it on fire, and it's a bonfire. As opposed to like I'm going to start a fire and keep feeding the fire throughout the night. I don't think you feed a bonfire. I think it just goes.
I think a campfire is an item, but a bonfire is an event.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't invite. I probably wouldn't invite somebody to a campfire, but I would invite somebody to a bonfire.
Exactly.
So you're right.
So like
Exactly.
a campfire is like an accoutrement to a party, but a bonfire is the party.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think it's like saying the word barbecue. Like it is a physical object that is required for it, but also the name of the gathering.
Right.
Yeah. It's a very important distinction.
I love Boneville County.
Also, I'm just thinking that all white people are like the anti-Frankenstein. We're like, ooh, fire, fire, but we're like,
Get closer.
ooh, fire.
I love that stuff.
Your way of parsing that people enjoy fire is that they are the anti-Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's a long way to go.
I think that's a nice way of saying it, but I think it's definitely taking the back roads to get there.
It's a scenic route, though. It's a scenic route.
It is. It's like a 1A. Beavis is the anti-Frankenstein. Beavis loves fire. So yeah, it would be on a range from Beavis to Frankenstein. That's your range.
Beavis is my favorite Universal monster.
I'm so mad that they canceled Dark Universe. We never got the Beavis movie.
Dark Beavis.
Who would play Beavis?
Leo movie though.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So
Did you guys hear? Did you hear that the liberals are also trying to get the Universal monsters through? Oh, is that worth it? Is that a scenic route? Is that a bad joke?
No, that's great.
And I'm just thinking, if we were casting for real, if we were casting the Cornholio movie, who would play Beavis? Like, who's got that manic
Russell Crowe.
energy? He's a little old, but I like it. He does have the manic energy.
We get Tarantino and we revive Val Kilmer's career.
You guys are both going older for this. I'm thinking like a Paul Dano type would really pull one out for it.
My God.
Like it'd be a stretch, but I think he could execute.
Can you imagine Timothy Chalamet as Cornholio?
Don't wish it into existence.
Yeah.
Please do.
I think if you said Cornholio to Timothy Chalamet, he would faint.
Or explode.
Yeah.
Do you think Timothy Chalamet is going all the way? Do you think he's going to be an actor forever? Do you think he's going to be like one of our do you think he's going to be an actor that is like goes forever?
Oh
Hard
yeah,
to
he
give it.
wants to be Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Does he?
I bet.
Jordan, how do you feel about that? Do you feel he's got the
Oh, yeah.
chops?
I mean, I like Timmy. I do wonder how he's going to age because he's so little. I just don't know. I just can't see him as an adult. He's so small.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same issue that I have with Tom Holland. I just saw the first pictures from Uncharted where Tom Holland is playing the main guy, Drake.
So he's
Nathan Fillion.
He's basically playing who Nathan Fillion should have played if the movie had come out back in the day, and instead he looks like he's 12 years old in the movie.
Yeah.
And Marky Mark, who's supposed to play Sully, who's a gray-haired guy with a mustache, just looks like Marky Mark. No mustache, young face. And I'm like, this is real weird and very different. When I saw the picture, it was not what I had in mind.
I'm so mad now because I'm like, if Tom Holland had played Dear Evan Hansen and the guy from Dear Evan Hansen had played the Drake man, then everything would have been normal.
Yeah. I would totally watch Dear Evan Hansen if Tom Holland was in it. It wouldn't make it good, but I would watch it.
He'd be a much more believable high school student.
we got young looking adults. You got to put them to work. Like, get these kids. Was this before? I was saying I don't think there should be kids in movies. We should CGI it or get older people to do it. That's Tom Holland's perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's like, I don't feel so good about lying to this whole high school, Mr. Stark.
frankly, I'm just glad they got a Korean War veteran to play Dear Evan Hansen.
It's the least they can do for that generation.
Absolutely.
Also, Ben, I don't know if you were planning on having me tell a story, but I actually do have a story that has to do with
I was.
Oh, cool. I have a story that has to do with MTV and aging and weird stuff, and it feels like it's of a part with what everyone else has been talking about.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think we nailed the Cornholio movie. Timothy Chalamet is Cornholio. And I think it would say is, not as, is Cornholio. And then you would just hear, like, it would be dark. You would just see those words on the screen. It would be the teaser trailer. And then you just hear, like, that's all you would hear. That's all you would hear. And then it would say, like, Christmas 2022 or whatever.
Honestly, like him going full, if he went full method, and there's like a behind the scenes like documentary about how he was Cornholio for a year.
You just see him screaming on set about how he needs TP for his bunghole.
That's the reason there was the toilet paper shortage. Is Chalamet he was getting into character.
All of his shirts are so wrinkled.
As opposed to Jim and Andy, it's Tim and Cornholio.
Beavis versus Frankenstein, with the winner taking on the predator. The winner takes all.
Perfect.
Oh man, yeah, great. I think we've covered that. So Rachel, yeah, what do you got for us?
So I'm just going to basically recap a really good article I read today, but I think it makes also a good story and a good platform for riffs. Should we have them, which I assume we will. So basically, I read this morning some really great long-form journalism about Johnny Knoxville. Looking back on his career, turning 50, and approaching the release of what will almost undoubtedly be the last Jackass movie. That's Jackass 4. There's been 4 Jackass movies. And I learned a lot. I wasn't a Jackass fan growing up. I watched other things, but I did learn some fun facts. First of all, I watched some Jackass today, and I'm like, oh, this is really funny. So now I'm a fan. But I also found out something really important, which is if you ever wondered, like, why were there so few episodes of Jackass, the article actually, perhaps for the first time, reveals the answer to why there's only like 3 short seasons of the show Jackass, which is that there was a lot of furor about, I don't know if that's how you say it, furor about the Jackass show. There was a lot of furor.
There's probably not a lot of furor about the Jackass show.
That's not how you say it.
I don't think they're fans of the show.
But there's a lot of furor about Jackass, especially from like Joe Lieberman. And he was just like, you need to cancel the show. It's, it's a menace. Kids are, hitting their own balls and across the country. It's just a bad scene. And so the compromise that MTV made on the movie Jackass is they forced Jackass to hire the production team. They forced them to hire a representative from OSHA. Which is like really funny. And so the representative of OSHA was like getting in the way of stunts. Like the one they brought up in the article is that apparently one of the stunts is like you'd make an omelet, but you had to like barf up all the ingredients. But the OSHA representative said, okay, you can do that, but you have to cook the omelet until
the temperature. Yeah.
Serve safe, man.
And Johnny Knoxville is like, yeah, that guy was always in our way, and I just really got frustrated, and I had to quit the show.
Wow.
So fuck John Lieberman, Joe Lieberman, because he ruined a beautiful thing.
I mean, Jackass was always something that was right on the line for me, where like half of it I thought was like super inspiring and really funny. I remember being and thinking like, oh man, they're pushing comedy, and I could never hang with these guys. And then even at the time, but as I've gotten older, it's been more like these guys are so dumb, and one of them is going to die doing this. And then one of them died not doing that, but basically doing that same behavior. He was like driving drunk at like 100 miles an hour in a Porsche and hit a tree and died. And I was like, well, that's it. They're not ever going to do this again. And then they just kept doing it. And I was like, good for them. It's all they know in a weird sort of way, is like fucking with each other this way. And like, that's both sad, but also kind of amazing that they've been able to last as long as they have. And I think it's crazy.
When you watch the dumb shit like boxing on stilts, I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But then like the stapling their ball sack to their thigh or something, like it was always like the gross stuff where I was like, I can't do this. But then they'd come out with something incredible, like,
and they hit you with Matchbox car in the asshole, and you go, oh, of course.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I'm back
brilliant.
in. It's like a 1-2 of that and like medicine ball dodgeball. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm good.
It's all very sideshow. It's all very like carny. It's like, yeah, come watch this guy eat glass. You know, what
I
call them?
feel like they were, when Johnny Knoxville, and I don't know if everybody's gonna know who this is, but when Johnny Knoxville first came out, I agree. I think he was in the Jim Rose camp. Like Jim Rose was a guy at that time who was doing like a freak show, traveling circus type thing where people would eat glass and people would breathe fire and people would, get pierced all over, put piercings through there. And like, yeah. And so Jim Rose was a, I want to say Jim Rose predated Jackass, but if not, they were right there with each other. And yeah, for a while it was very much like a sideshow. Like, yeah, part of the thrill was watching people do this thing that was clearly for the insane people, right? You're like, nobody sane would do this,
right?
And yet, from all intents and purposes, Johnny Knoxville is a pretty sane dude. I mean, when you hear, even in that article, he's a very well-spoken person who seemed to be pretty clear about what he was doing the whole time, which is mind-boggling to me because it looked like they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what people enjoyed, was like it did feel slapdash. You couldn't tell that they had planned meticulously to put a mouse on one of their penises and put their penis in a glory hole in a snake tank and have the snake bite the mouse penis. I mean, that's hilarious. And they obviously had multiple production meetings about that.
I will say though, and like, far be it, strike me down for defending Joe Lieberman here, but like emulation was a problem with that show. Like, we used to try to do stuff, not like the elaborate stuff like that, but we used to be like, oh, let's put our skateboard off this, or let's like jump into that thorn bush and shit like that. And it was 100% because of exposure to that show. We would have done other stuff, but we tried to emulate them like explicitly, and it was dangerous.
I will say this.
He is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
What's
Weird?
that, Jordan?
Oh, I said, I feel like we is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Well, like, just the entire generation of people between.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
No, my friends, I was not the jumper.
Was cute. I was very basic.
I was not the jumper though. I would hold the camera and like watch the friends do it.
Yeah, you were still there, but you're not. Yeah.
Complicit.
I will say though, I think we all did that too. Like, and maybe we didn't. Like, Jordan's like, hell no, I didn't do that. But. Not to say that like we were Jackass before, whatever, but I think I also grew up in part of the skateboarding community a little bit. I never was like a huge skater, but I hung out with a lot of skaters, and skaters always did dumb shit. Like, I'm gonna try to bomb this hill, that there's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to stay up on, and I always used to think part of the reason that the Jackass guys were doing this was because to be an extreme sports person, you need to sort of be a masochist. Like, you're like, if I hurt myself, okay. In fact, I'm going to take it an extra step and I'm going to try to hurt myself so that when I do inevitably hurt myself, it doesn't surprise me, right? Does that make sense?
They shined a light on a subculture that already sort of existed, and definitely people emulating it was. I remember people got hit by cars on the highway in New Hampshire trying to like do some stunt that they did, but definitely, I totally agree with you. I had kids that the CKY shirts, fucking drinking beers in the skate park and smoking cigarettes at 14, and just being like, "Dude, check this out!" And they jump over a moving car, and you're like, "Oh, Donnie's still working at the gas station still," like he's just like he's a real wild boy. I knew those kids.
Yeah, I remember that CKY song playing when I did like backyard wrestling, which was just like us breaking appliances over each other. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, backyard wrestling is definitely in that.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
In that ballpark. And yeah, I think it did shine a light on that subculture that definitely existed before that. And skate culture was always a weird like that. And those videos started as skate videos. I'm excited to see that last Jackass movie. I will watch it. I'm a fan of theirs, but I
hope they die at the end. I hope they just all stand on a rocket and get shot into space. Like,
I mean, there have been so many times they've come legitimately close to dying. There's a famous skit where Johnny Knoxville rides a rocket like off of a thing, and the rocket explodes actually, and the shrapnel
lid blows
shoots out next to him like inches away from death, just being impaled by this rocket, and no more Johnny Knoxville at all.
I want them to die in the last one, and I want Timothy Chalamet to renew it,
reboot it, and it's just called Ass. That's what they'll call the new one.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite. I want to have the power of time travel and put Johnny Knoxville into situations that nobody had survived and see like how he survives it. I want to put Johnny Knoxville on the Challenger.
I'm Johnny Knoxville, and today we're landing the Hindenburg.
Oh boy!
The legend of Christianity started by Johnny Knoxville going into a time machine and dying and then coming back 3 days.
This one's called the crucifixion.
Wee man dressed up as the Roman guard poking him.
That's actually how they knocked over the money table, like the tables at the market. It wasn't him getting mad; it was a stunt gone wrong.
I'm Steve-O, and this is the flipping the tables of the temple prank.
Jackass Christianity.
Oh boy!
Classic mashup.
I'm surprised they didn't get the OSHA guy in on the stunts, because when they got that animal handler in, he quickly became part of the thing. They got like the animal handler because they were working with so many animals. They had to be like, you need an animal handler on set. And so this guy, Manny, was their animal handler. And then they just slid him into the show / movie so quickly. It was just like, hey, do you want to do dumb shit with us? And the guy was like, yes, I do. And they were like, great, you're in.
I gotta appreciate that the OSHA guy was like committed to his job enough to be upset about the egg temperature, but he still was cool enough to let them like vomit up all the like. He's picking and choosing. Like that character is interesting to me. I want to know the OSHA guy who's like, well, we can put you on that rocket, but you gotta have a seatbelt. Like, what? What is he trying to do?
There's a fantastic. This is a plug for a YouTube video. There's a fantastic video of Conan and his writers testing what they can and can't say on the show. But they're not saying like swears. They're saying things like, so me and my wife, we go down and we do the old Tokyo Sandblaster. Can we say that?
It's so weird. Standards and practices is so weird. Jordan, I'm sure you can speak to this, but like I know a lot of filmmakers have spoken about how like they'll put stuff in their movies that they know is going to get edited out, but because of that, the thing that they really want in it probably will not get touched, right? So they're like, I'm going to submit a thumb to the MPA that I know is in no way okay, so that hopefully they'll flag that part of it and let the other part go through, right? That happens all the time from what I hear.
Interesting. I mean, the MPA just they're just like a bunch of like weird, like concerned PTA parents. Like that's kind of how they work. So yeah, you got to trick them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do that a lot of the time. I think the Jackass guys would do that too. I think they would put like something so horrendously awful right before the thing that they wanted,
Right.
which was still pretty bad. And people were so shocked by that other thing that all of a sudden this thing didn't seem so bad. And they were like, you can get rid of that other thing. And they were like, yeah.
Smart.
That's the plan. That's the plan. Yeah, great. We are reaching the point of the show. We're wrapping it up, and we like to toss it over to Rachel really quickly. She has been keeping track of the show and writing some jokes on Twitter this whole time. So we're going to recap the show through Rachel's Twitter jokes right now before we say goodnight. So Rachel, take it away.
Hey guys.
Well,
Nope, she just disappeared instead.
Fuck this.
It was too much. Too much. She couldn't do it, and so she'll be back in a second for sure. As she's reconnecting.
Is this a meta joke about what she thought the content of the show was? That she goes, "Here's the recap."
I wonder.
Just drops off. No, she's always using so many devices. I think something probably maybe just died. I don't know. But as she hops back on. We'll just talk about.
Cut to the 2MB
Jim.
Cut to the 2MB Twitter. It's just Rachel like this show's fucking sucks.
While we're waiting for Rachel, I will say, like and subscribe to 2MB Studios if you haven't already. We got shows 7 days a week, and there she is. So like and subscribe. You can also join our Patreon, which is full of all sorts of fun goodies. So check that out as well. We appreciate you. Rachel, you're back.
I'm back. I went to the Twitter and I accidentally closed out the window.
We've all been there.
It happens to all of us, not just to me.
It has nothing to do with how tired you are at all.
No.
So yeah, real quick, let's try this again. Give us the recap.
Cool. I'm gonna do it.
There we are.
There we go. So, I write a ton of jokes tonight? Who can say? But these are the ones I wrote. A 4D fighting game is when you stay mad at someone your whole life. Just thinking of 3D through time. Time is the fourth dimension, I'm pretty sure. Going to a barcade and complaining that it's not appropriate for my children. They're the CEOs of a local brewery, and the barcade only offers the beers of their competitors. What a funny scenario that
really
was.
broke the dope there, yeah.
Being a camp counselor at a theater camp, spending most of my time stopping the campers from painting themselves in latex paint, the rest of the time helping goth kids come out of their shells after they've successfully covered themselves in black latex paint. Making out at camp, everybody can see us because we thought you could hide behind a skinny tree like in the cartoons. We did a lot of growing up that summer. Me, can I borrow that book? Friend, sure. Me, goes to bookshop.org on my phone. Friend, what are you doing? Me, buying you a new book. This one's gonna get fucked up. Honestly, I'm pretty proud of accepting this part of myself.
No lie, I would love that. That would be great.
It would be pretty funny if the guy sent it, I know what you did last summer note, but it went to the wrong person. He was like, okay, I know what I did last summer too. Beer and cornhole. You want a medal? When I was a kid, I always used to emulate the guys on Jackass. Specifically, I emulated the guy from OSHA they had to hire after pressure from Congress, who frustrated Johnny Knoxville stunt plans and ultimately ended the series early.
That's just a fact.
That's just a fact, and that's all those jokes I wrote, guys.
Yeah. I love it. Those are great, Rachel. I want to thank all my guests tonight over this show that talked about youth and talked about how we spend our youth, whether it's playing video games or reading comic books or being at camp, maybe hanging out at the beach or doing dumb shit with our friends. We all did stuff that was really fun, and did it lead anywhere? Who knows? For the Jackass guys, it did. They got to do that stupid shit and it led to a career. But for the rest of us, it was just time spent with our friends, which was more than enough. At least for me, I got more than enough out of it just with that. And it made for some great stories here tonight. So I, of course, want to thank all my guests, David Thomas, Kenny Gray, Jordan Searles, Rachel Andelman, and Will Gianetta. Really appreciate you all being here and hanging out for the evening. I want to thank everybody for watching at home. We appreciate you, of course. And catch us again next week. Same time, we'll be here. Till then, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.